Yeah, year and a half. Yeah. So.
At least a couple years late on this.
Jefferson County Court at Law Number 2 is back in session. We're back in session with our case that we had set for jury trial. We had picked a jury on yesterday, which was March 21st of 2022. And the court was informed this morning that in this case, cause number 319690, case of style of state of Texas versus Alan Rosemore, that Mr. Alan Rosemore was requesting to enter a plea of guilty to the charges. And also in this document, he is waiving his right to a jury trial. Mr. Rosemore is represented by Mr. Ryan Matuska. Mr. Matuska, is that correct?
Your Honor, that's correct. Mr. Rosemore wishes to change his plea this morning.
Okay. Now, Mr. Rosemore, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Rosemore, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Mr. Rosemore, you better put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Rosemore?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Rosemore, you're here represented by your attorney, Mr. Ryan Matuska. Mr. Matuska, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
And good afternoon to you, Mr. Matuska. The state is represented in this case by Attorney Blake Ham. Attorney Ham, how are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
That's good. In cause number 319690, case of style of state of Texas versus Alan Rosemore. Mr. Rosemore, I have before me an information. This information alleges that on or about May 14 of 2018, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed to class A misdemeanor offense of failure to identify a fugitive from justice. Mr. Rosemore, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to discharge Mr. Rosemore, how do you plead? Not guilty, guilty, or no contest?
Good.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rosemore, I have before me a document that is titled the misdemeanor plea admonishment. Mr. Rosemore, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this same document, Mr. Rosemore, there's a set of initials, AR, and those initials are on a line next to a box that's checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of this same document, Mr. Rosemore, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document, Mr. Rosemore, this document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Mr. Rosemore, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Is this your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Rosemore, there are 2 boxes that are checked at the top of this document. First box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box states that you're waiving your right to appeal, which means you're giving up your right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rosemore, I have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Mr. Rosemore, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rosemore, before you signed and initialed these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney, Mr. Matuska, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rosemore, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections, Mr. Matuska?
No objections, Your Honor.
No objection. State's Exhibits number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Matuska, you advised and counsel Mr. Rosemore, is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, sir, Your Honor.
Mr. Rosemore, your attorney, Mr. Matuska, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rosemore, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Hey, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Judge.
And what is that agreement?
9 days in jail, probated over a term of 1 year, a $250 fine, and 24 hours of community service.
Mr. Rosemore, the state is offering that you serve 90 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any time in the Jefferson County Jail in this case because you'll be placed on probation for 1 year. During the 1 year probationary period, you will be required to pay a fine of $250, and you will also be required to pay court costs. In this case, the fine and the court cost comes to a total of $602. That is, you'll be required to pay $352 of court costs plus a fine of $250. You'll also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a year analysis fee of $15 each month. You'll be required to reimburse Jefferson County court-appointed attorney's fees of $250. And you'll also be required to pay in monthly installments $155. Let me do this here. I just thought of something. Your court-appointed attorney's fees is gonna be $250?
A little more than that, Judge.
Yeah, because I mean, he has to reimburse the county for the court-appointed attorney's fees. Okay, so we're gonna have to put that in his.
I can submit that to the court today.
Okay, do we know how much it's gonna be? Because she's doing the paperwork.
Yeah, I could look it up.
Because that's, yeah, he has to reimburse the court. Yeah, this is not just a regular plea. So he went to, actually, he went to trial on it, so just thought about that.
Judge, have 1,050.
Okay, could you, 150, let's put it in there, let's see what we can, he says it's 1,050.
That's including the 250.
Including
No.
the 250. Yeah, that's,
That's,
the
that-
plea I don't put on addition to that. I take that off.
oh, okay, yeah, so that's, so that'd be, what's that, 11,
So it's including.
250 plus, you said
Just
it's
1050
including-
1050,
that includes the 250.
altogether.
Yeah,
The
okay.
250 doesn't go on top of it.
okay,
And you want me to put that in?
right, because he has to reimburse the,
Line, not-
yeah.
Not on a separate line.
no, hold on a minute. Yeah, Okay, the court is back in session. In cause number 319690, y'all can come on back up. Case is style of State of Texas versus Alan Rosemore. We have Mr. Alan Rosemore and his attorney, Mr. Ryan Matuska. And we also have present Attorney Blake Ham for this, representing Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. Now, Mr. Rosemore was previously sworn in. Mr. Rosemore entered a plea of guilty to the charge, to Class A misdemeanor charge of failure to identify a fugitive from justice. Mr. Rosemore acknowledged that his signatures and initials was on State's Exhibit Number 1, which is the misdemeanor plea admonishment. He also acknowledged that his signature was on the trial court certification, the defendant's right of appeal. He also acknowledged that he understood that he didn't have, that this is a plea bargain case and that he did not have a right of appeal. He also acknowledged that he was waiving his right to appeal. And he also acknowledged that his signature was on the discovery certification. And the state offered Mr. Rosemore a plea bargain agreement. Well, the state stated to the court that it reached a plea bargain agreement. State was offering that Mr. Rosemore serve 90 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, they probated that time for a period of 1 year, and Mr. Rosemore was required to pay a $250 fine plus court costs and serve 24 hours, and serve perform 24 hours of community service. Now, Ms. Rosemore, I have before me the judgment. The state is offering that you serve 90 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any time in Jefferson County Jail because you'll be placed on probation for 1 year. During the 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $250 and court costs in the amount of $352, which comes to a total of fine and court costs of $602. You will also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a year analysis fee of $15 each month, and you'll be required to reimburse Jefferson County for the court-appointed attorney's fees in this case, which comes to a total of $1,050. Now, your total monthly installments, that is the total amount that you'd have to pay each month while you're on probation, is $225. Mr. Rosemore, will you be able to pay the $225?
Yeah, as long as I'm working, I will be.
Okay, well, I just need to know, will you be able to pay the $225?
Yeah, I should be able to pay it, yeah. Yes,
Oh.
ma'am. Okay.
Now, you'll also be required to perform 24 hours of community service. Now, and you will also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of this probation. Now, Mr. Rosemore, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you think that the state's offer in this case is fair and just?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Rosemore, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Rosemore, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney, and you're gonna follow the directions of our court clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
You too.
And you'll be free to go as well, Mr. Matuska, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Ham, you'll be free to go as well, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
And this will conclude the calling of the court's trial,
Sign this,
which was, jury was picked on yesterday, March 21st of 2022, and cause number 319690. The case for South State of Texas versus Alan Rosemore. At this time,
Raise your right hand.
this court